So next, now you have the property, you have it under contract. Next thing is to promote it. So now you have this property under contract. What you're going to do is now resell it at a little bit higher than when you contracted. So say this house is worth $100,000, up and updated, and you have it under contract for $35,000. Well, you turn around and list it for sale, or you find a cash investor for $45,000. So you see how that works? So it's worth $100. You've got it under contract for $35, and then you turn around and sell it for $45. So the end investor who buys it, they're still getting a heck of a deal. They may need to put, $10 grand into it to fix it up, but they're still getting a deal super cheap on a house they would not have found because it wasn't listed on the MLS. They weren't advertising it anywhere, so you found them a deal, and after a while, you'll start to get investors asking you how you are getting these kinds of deals because they can't find deals like this. So you'll be like the perfect matchmaker. You find the buyer who loves you because you're giving them such a smoking deal, and then the seller, you're a hero to them because you helped them sell their property in a matter of weeks without ever having to go to the MLS and waiting 6 months, without having to put any work into the property, without having to fix it up, without having to go through all the showings and bringing people over, cleaning it up, without making any of the repairs. You're telling them you're going to take the property as is. So you are a hero to both sides of the party. So as is, pay all the closing costs, get the property under contract $35, resell it for $45. That is the entire gist of how the process of how you can make 10 grand in less than 60 days is you're going to find a smoking deal, get it under contract well below market, and then you resell it quickly for a couple grand higher than you got it for as your finder fee. And I want to talk a little bit about people who think this is unscrupulous or bad because they say you're taking advantage of people. I just want to give you an example of, think about the convenience store you go to on the corner where you pay $1.50 for that little bottled water. Do you think the person who owns the convenience store bought the water for $1.50 and they're selling it to you for $1.50 just because of their goodwill? No, they mark it up because of the convenience for bringing that water right there to you, for you not having to go to the main grocery store or go back home, or having the convenience of having the water right there in the store. People do this the same with those designer clothes you're wearing right now. Do you think you paid $40 for that shirt? Do you think the store bought it for $40? No, they work out wholesale price where they probably get the shirts for $5 a piece, and then they resell them for $40 each. That's exactly what you're doing. You're paying because you're getting paid your worth and your value for putting the deal together. Anyone, you're providing a service. You're helping people sell a house. You're helping an investor get a good deal. So it's your right to mark it up because the service you're providing is valuable. You are helping both sides of the equation. So I don't want you thinking anything or feeling bad about what you're doing. You're providing a service, and when done correctly, every party involved will be happy you put this deal together every time. So let's talk about now getting rid of the property as fast as you can now that you have it under contract. So most people, again, you slap it on Craigslist, and you get 100 calls, all these people who want to go look at the property. They're not even real buyers. They don't even have the cash. You have no way to know if they're even any buyers. Instead, you're taking all these emails and calls for people who are just going to go look at the property and never do anything with it. You can try to contact realtors, but with these contracts, you're writing it in 30 days because you want to close fast. You don't have time to list it with an agent. It's just not a good idea. Same with ads in the paper. It'll just take too long, and you'll get all kinds of people. You'll get a ton of calls of people who will proceed to do absolutely nothing. someone's asking, can I show the purchase contract? The contract I use a simple one-page offer contract that basically ties the property up and says that I will buy the property at so-and-so price if contracted. If I can find a buyer, I can see if I can pull it up. If someone wants to see the contract that I use, let me see if I can show up one. But I use a really simple one-page contract, and if it needs to, whatever city you're in, they may need the full-blown whatever the standard realtor's contract is. That if your title company needs you to use that, that's no problem. But when I'm contracting, when I'm talking directly with the sellers, it is a simple, really simple one-page. And if you want to email me afterwards, can't pull it up right now. If you want to email me after it, I'll show you a copy of the contract that I use. But it is a one-page. Basically says I'm buying the property at this price. It states in there I have the option to resell it or find another buyer to take over, or what they call assigning it. And it says if I have the option to cancel the contract before the end of the 30 days at no fault of anyone. So it's really simple. It's usually clear for the buyers. It's about 2 paragraphs, 1 page. Never had a problem with anyone accepting it, except when sending an offer to a realtor, because realtors are required by the state regulations to use the only state-approved contract. So if you're doing this on a property with MLS, no big deal. They'll have the contract. They'll have them send it to you, and they always have empty spaces where you can just write in what you say is. And I'll go over exactly how to fill out all the contracts and all that later if you contact me. I know we're running a little long, so I want to get through this, but that's a good question. So these are the better methods you can use to get rid of the house pretty quick, and that's banded signs. Of course, they do work. They're not the best method, but that's those signs. You just put out signs around the property that say cheap house. Like, on every corner around the neighborhood, you say cheap house for sale and just put a phone number and a price. If the neighborhood, if it is a really low price for that neighborhood, if most of the homes are selling for $100,000 and your sign says cheap house $39,000, you'll get calls. It does work. Business cards, you can leave them anywhere. If you have business cards that say, I got wholesale houses, cheap prices, and have a link to your website, and start collecting buyers and investor lists, so you can start promoting with a different type of business card that states that you have really, really cheap houses, and start putting them around. And a better method I like, and I was able to sell a couple of houses with these last 3 methods. They're kind of all go together, and that's the We Buy Houses signs. So those signs you see on the road that say We Buy Houses are usually other wholesalers doing this exact same thing, and most of them already have a buyer's list of people they go to sell their properties fast. So, and they have marketing and they have things on. So when you have a property that you want to turn fast, why not partner up with other wholesalers who are doing the same thing? I guarantee you 95% of the time you see one of those houses that say one of those signs that say We Buy Houses, and they're doing this exact same method. The thing is, if you got the price, or you got the house at a contract at a really good deal, there'll still be room for them to mark it up and promote it to their buyers. So, ideal situation, the house is worth $100,000. I got it under contract for $35,000. I'm listing it for $45,000. Lots of times I'll find another wholesaler who has one of those We Buy Houses signs, and I'll find out he's reselling it for $55,000. And everyone gets paid. It's still, they sold the house for you. You made your money. They made their money. The investor at the end still had enough margin in it to make some money, and it works out great. So sometimes calling other wholesalers, start writing down those numbers that say we buy houses. Start keeping them. Anytime you're driving down, you see a we buy houses sign. Contact them. Ask them how much volume they're doing, how big is their buyers list, what areas they work in, and learn what kind of houses they buy. And then you can start finding properties that you can just turn around and have them sell for you really fast. So start building some partnerships with these other wholesalers. It works. Same with contacting We Buy Houses on Craigslist. Same deal. You'll see a lot of ads on Craigslist that say we buy houses, all cash, and I wouldn't hesitate to call them. I'll tell them, look, I'm also a wholesaler. This is the property I have. This is the spread, and if you can find a buyer, good deal. And if not, well, why not have them working for you if you know you got enough room in the deal? Contacting other sellers. I like this one too, sellers or landlords. So if you find another landlord in the area or someone else who's selling a house they just fixed up, if it's not an owner, if it's an actual investor who just rehabbed a house that you can find online and they're selling it, contact them and say, hey, I got this other property right down the street. You might want to rehab it as this and sell it. I have it at this great deal. And that's a good way to find other investors. Look for other houses that were recently fixed up and listed for sale and contact them. And you'll find that a lot of them are investors who do it full time, and if they don't buy this one, they may buy the next one. So again, the goal is start building up a list of investors and buyers, so next time you have a house under contract, all you do is send out an email to your list, and these guys, you'll have the property sold in a matter of hours. It happens. So start contacting these people.